leads me to my next point. Let's have a look at Morgellons disease.
Good evening. Tonight we're going to focus on a controversial and mysterious condition known as Morgellons. There are thousands who say they suffer from its bizarre symptoms, but there are many in the worlds of science and medicine who believe that it's all in the mind. Well, now the government has weighed in, acknowledging that people are suffering and accepting the need for proper scientific investigation. So the Centers for Disease Control today announced that it would begin a new in-depth study to try and explain this strange condition. My co-anchor Cynthia McFadden reports.
Mary began poring through the medical literature, looking for clues. What she discovered was a 17th century reference to a strange disease with so-called harsh hairs called Morgellons. She named the strange fibers Morgellons disease and put the information on a website. Since then, more than 4,500 people have contacted Mary, claiming they too have Morgellons-type symptoms.
If you do a literature search in the medical literature, there is no Morgellons disease. The skin symptoms fit perfectly with the same group of individual symptoms that we saw in patients with delusions of parasitosis.
Delusions of parasitosis. In other words, it's all in their heads. And despite today's announcement, many doctors remain skeptical that this is a real medical condition at all.
They've pre-decided that these symptoms are too impossible to be real, so they've come to this conclusion that it's a delusion.
Randy Wymore is not a medical doctor, but he is a scientist at Oklahoma State University. He started out as a skeptic too, but years ago, after taking a closer look at the fibers, he changed his mind. And he says other doctors might also, if only they would look.
And the few that have seen patients often have never actually gotten down with either a handheld microscope or a dermatoscope and looked at the patient's skin to see these fibers.
On the day we filmed this, Wymore's colleague, Dr. Rhonda Casey, examined that chronic sore on Drew's lip, which, after 5 years, still had not healed.
Plain as day, definitely a fiber. There are fibers there, and I have never seen fibers in any other child's rash similar to this.
What are the symptoms, and what, from your view, from your studies, what exactly is Morgellons disease?
My view of Morgellons is basically the result of industrialization. The list of symptoms is extremely long. It's almost similar to like a fungal overload, pathogenic overload, and there's so many related symptoms. Some of the more prominent ones being the body actually growing these fibrils or hairs, the body producing artifacts of some kind, whether they're some people, I've even met a couple of people that are producing plant-like material growing out of their skin. There's actually these non-earthling type of insects being come out of their body. I mean, unbelievable stories that I would never have believed it unless I was standing in their house witnessing this. Hexagons, I mean, on our website, morgellonsresearchgroup.com, there's probably 1,000 pictures that you can see. They're real. It's unbelievable. It's like the science fiction channel come to life.
Absolutely, I agree with you, as well.
Can you guys see how all this might tie together? They could very well be distributing smart dust and many other things into our system using chemtrails, sunblock, lotion, other hygiene products, medicine, and even food and drink. Is this part of an ongoing plan to turn human beings into walking receivers that are dumbed down by toxins and filled with heavy metals? Robot zombie citizens that can easily be tracked and identified as they travel through the smart cities? Are we in the process of a full-on gray goo takeover? Well,
Contamination is a difficult term. I would say everybody has been in contact. We have films, we call it dry particle storm, where you just ignite ultraviolet light at night, and then you see these fibers being in the air everywhere. So there must be tons of it around, and I would say everybody who is living on
on the planet was in contact with these fibers. Then you can say, okay, once it is inside the system, does it grow, and how far does it grow? So I would suggest, or I would believe that maybe in Europe 70% of the people have fibers within their body, but they're not growing explosively. There are a few here, a few there. They don't interfere with health. So it's just something that is within the body, and the body is not able to completely get rid of it, but it's not kind of taking over the body. If you look at the heavy cases where you can see things coming out of the skin because of this biology is exploding within the human body, we can talk about 300 to 600,000 registered cases worldwide. So if you look at it as a transhumanistic technology, they don't want to have us ill. The transhumanistic technology basically wants to have a few of those fibers available within the body, because it is again a possibility to communicate between a radio signal or an external computer, if you want so. And this time it is not the nervous system of the body, but it is the light communication that is transmitted all the time between the DNAs of the different cells. You might look into more spiritual descriptions of what is a human and talk about the chakra system. There you have colors associated to your light body, which is blue, green for the heart chakra, yellow for life force, red, orange for anger, and red for sexuality. So this is the basic system that is targeted. It's not about getting on our nerves in a way. It is about getting into our light communication. You can read it as a line of coincidences. You can read it as a very intelligent concept. It starts with vaccinations. Vaccinations contain mercury, and the mercury is changing the environment for candida within the body. It makes candida grow. And the second thing mercury does is it is higher the rate of infection in childhood. It basically triples it. Infection today is treated with antibiotics, and then the antibiotics kill the rest of the, let's say, probiotic candida forms that normally live within the body. The moment it stops with the antibiotics, the environment is empty of candida, or the candida is killed, except of the pathogenic forms. They regrow and resettle on the entire environment, and then we have a antibiotica-induced change of the candida environment within the body. And the forms that are surviving antibiotics, they are really evil stuff, because they don't serve as part of the healthy nature in the body. They try to take over. So the first thing they do is they send some signaling chemistry or hormones to the liver, and the liver is shutting down the lymphatic flow. So the liver stops detoxing. The liver is still detoxing the blood, but all the toxins taken out from the blood are stored within the liver because the lymphatic flow is blocked.